Alrighty. Now this is the inside of the door. Just so you know. I'm still patching up there. These are S cleats right here. Okay. So I will show you a cutoff. Now S cleats, they basically, get under the light where you can see, they basically look like an S. Now when you're overlapping, like I did here, you want it, spin it, you want it to where, see that bottom, how the metal slips into it, not the top groove, but the bottom groove. So when you're putting it together, you want that groove, the bottom one, to basically slip over it like that. Okay, so that way there, when you put your next piece in there, it will go over the top of this, so you get at least better flat. Okay, it's basically. Now this door is getting heavy because this sheet metal is 28 gauge. So let me show you what the inside of the oven looks like now. Yes, I could have paused it, but why bother? Now, if you look at the inside of the oven, let's turn on the lights over here. Now, if you notice, the inside of the oven, I did that as one piece because these sheets are 3 foot by 8 foot and they're about $50 each. So if you don't want to spend that, use the thinner stuff you can get from Home Depot, Lowe's, Crap Nards. This I got from a supplier. I do duct work, so I have all the tools to bend the shit. Getting these 90s in there without a brake is pretty difficult, but if you have a bench, if you don't have a bench, you can clamp it between, you can almost do it with these studs. Okay, you got to have a very 90 corner, not a piece of wood, because that's not 90 enough. So any kind of a straight edge that you can use, clamp it, and then you'll be able to bend it by hand. But take your time, and it is a pain in the ass to try to bend. Just so you know that if you're going to do it by hand. But anyway, you can see how nice that is. I overlapped a small lip here, okay? Then this back panel, you can see I got an S-cleat here. And I have an S-cleat here. Okay, I'm adding another layer of insulation on this back wall because it's not perfect. You can see there's a couple little gaps. So because the back wall is drywall, I'm adding more insulation across this just to give me that little bit of extra strength. Now am I zoomed all the way out? Now the piece that's going to go in here is 3 feet. So from your overlap, always allow for your 1-inch overlap or 3/4. So from this point here, this S-cleat, which is on top, okay, so when I slip that in, the other sheet metal's over the top of that. Same thing with this one. So anyway, when I go to put that panel in, I can bow it outward, okay, slip it in one end, bow it, and slip it in the other end. No, it won't bow a lot because this is 28 gauge, so it's pretty stiff. And you can see I have this wall here done also. So you can see, if you watch the other video, you can see how much better that looks than that stuff. And as thick as this 28 gauge is, you really don't have to cross break it if you don't want. I still have screwed. See, none of this is screwed right here. Okay, it's not screwed across the top yet either. But anyway, so that's all I'm really going to show you per se in this video here, per se, right? In this video, I'm going to put the back panel on, add the insulation. I'm going to put the back panel on and give you a shot of that. All these seams, like this bend here, I did that in the break. So anyway, you can see the oven's coming together. Basically a 2-day. The one day I busted my ass on it for, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours. Everything was cut. I had the back wall, the side walls, and the door. Everything was all framed up. No, I do not like coke, but it just happens to be there. So if you look at what's real, there we go. Pepsi. It's the only way to go. Alright? And besides that one works. I had to put a new cap in it, but that one works. The Coke cooler doesn't. And here's a little insignificant fact for all you Coke users. Stop snorting it up. It'll fuck your nose up. No. Anyway. Boring, right? Coke, actually, the reason Coke was more popular than Pepsi is in World War II. Coke made a deal with the government because, you know, they rationed not Coke. The government did a considerable amount of rationing, right? So, what Coke did is they went to the government and said, look, we'll supply free pop to all the troops overseas, well, that they can get it to, at no cost. But you have to continually give us however much sugar we need. So the government, to try to keep the troops happy, said absolutely. So Pepsi lost out. Pepsi didn't do that. So Pepsi tried to do it. Oh, too late, because of the rationing. So Coke didn't get hit with the rationing. So they were shipping pop or soda, depending on where you're from, overseas to the troops, and even stateside boot camp or whatever. But anyway, they were shipping, and it wasn't costing the government anything to supply the troops with Coca-Cola. So obviously, when the war ended and everybody came home, they wanted to drink Coke products simply because that's what they were drinking when they were during the war, when they were overseas. So anyway, that's why Coke was always more popular than Pepsi in that time frame, because of the deal they made with the government. A little insignificant fact, but true. You hear that, YouTube? I don't need no bullshit from your censors. This is straight up fact. I don't think they'd give a shit, to be honest with you. So anyway, thank you. Hey. You. Hey. Hey. You're not going to look this way, are you? Hey. Yeah, there you go. Anyway, this is a cat that just showed up. Okay? Yep, showing his ass. So I don't know where he came from. But anyway, back to the oven. Now, if you notice what I did before I put this back panel on. Oh, you're going to come and watch me? I ran the wires. Okay? I'll have to cut the hole in the bottom panel and that, so I'm not worried about it. The whole reason I put this piece of sheet metal there is, yeah. Anyway, the reason I put this sheet metal here is the element is going to be pushed against that. Okay? So you don't want the insulation touching the backside of the element, because if it gets hot enough, it will melt a little bit. I doubt that it'll melt, but to play it safe, I recommend, now if you use thicker studs than this, then you wouldn't really have much of an issue, because you got to bend to 90 in the heating element. I'm going to have 3 of them. I'm going to have one over here. Well, it doesn't know how to focus. I'm going to have one on, anyway. Point being, there's going to be 3 elements in here. This one here will be on a separate switch to bring it up to temperature. And then once it reaches temperature, I could probably shut that one off. But it's tricky doing the elements unless you could find an element. Any stove element doesn't make a difference. This one here, you can see how I bent the 90s in it. Not the prettiest bend, but still a 90. It doesn't hurt it to bend a 90 in it. You're not going to damage it unless you bend a real stiff one in it. So anyway, when I mount this, as you can see, it'll be mounted about like that. So that's going to be touching the sheet metal. But I am not even concerned about it starting a fire, because it won't do that. You can see the wire there, they're insulated wires. Whoops, I got this one backwards. This one's backwards. I have to maneuver it because I want these insulated. So I'll reverse that one. So anyway, it's a good idea if you're going to have this against the wall like that. Go ahead and run your wires for your back heating element. Alright, there you go. Inside of the oven is basically done. I mean, I have to put hinges and what have you in it. But you can see how nice the inside of that looks. This is 26 gauge sheet metal that I used. The wires are still, you see where I marked it on the floor there. So I know I have to come up, I don't know how far I have to come up. Didn't write that down, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to come up probably 4 inches off the floor anyway or whatever. Still got a couple screws to zip in, but anyway, you can see if this was just bare concrete, well, you could probably just put, either way I recommend putting sheet metal down on the floor, whether it's concrete or not. You're not going to hurt concrete, but some concrete can't handle the temperatures. Because you got to remember, when you mount your heating elements, you don't want them up here, okay? You want your heating elements towards the bottom, not at the bottom, but towards the bottom, so the heat radiates inward, and as it radiates inward, then heat naturally flows up. So what I'm going to do, and which everybody should do, is I'm going to cut a small vent up here, probably I don't know, maybe 3 inch at the biggest, to go up, because it's just like an oven, a stove. You have to get rid of some of the heat. So I'm going to put a vent up here and just vent it up. You can vent it outside, which I may do, for the summertime. I may vent it outside, or I may not. But anyway, there you go. So I'm going to get this posted online, and this is the last of the framing and sheet metal and all that. Now, I didn't show me screwing it together, but I mean, common sense. You can see I used, the same screws I use for ductwork. You can use panhead screws, as long as they're sheet metal. You don't need real long ones. For the most part, you can see what I used. If I can get a hold of it, there we go. See, that's a pretty small screw. All right. Then where I doubled the thickness of the material, this is the size I used, okay? So you can see, side by side here, you can see the, basically the difference in lengths. 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4. So whatever you happen to use is cool, because you don't need to penetrate the metal very far. But anyways, you can see this is going to be a damn nice oven. You can say, oh my God, it's got gaps up here. I'm going to put S-cleats around the top of this. If you don't want to use S-cleats, the perfect thing to seal this with, see, I still got to put more screws in, is Fireplace Caulking. Because Fireplace Caulking is rated at either 1100 or 1500 degrees. So you're not going to find, I don't think you're going to find that at Lowe's and places like that. You may have to order it online. But if you really want to seal this, okay, I still got to put screws in here, but if you really want to get this sealed, you can just caulk it with Fireplace Caulking, because it's guaranteed for, I think it's 1500 degrees, something like that, maybe more. I used to know because I used to do fireplaces. But anyway, there's the inside of the oven. And all in all, the frame, the rough door, the walls, all this sheet metal, all in all, it took me probably, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 hours, 8 hours, 4 hours the other day, and 5 hours today, 5, 6 hours. So anyway, roughly about 8 hours. Now you can see the back side of it isn't finished yet, the outside of it, which I'm not, no big hurry, but I'll probably just use a cheaper 28 gauge. And like I say, the inside is 26 gauge, and you're not going to get those ripple effects as the oven heats. So there you go. And the door obviously is done, but I'll do another one on the door, putting the hinges on it and the handle, and then mounting it so you can see that. Just appreciate anybody watching my videos. I'm up to 70 subscribers. which is a good thing. So that's pretty impressive. Up to 70 subscribers, so I just want to thank everybody. And like 36,000, 300 or 400 views, which is nuts, right? So anyway, anybody who's watching, I appreciate it. Hit the little B in the bottom right hand corner to subscribe. Hit the little notification bell, and every time I upload a boring video, it will notify you of another boring video by me. So what else? So there we go. I just appreciate anybody watching.